make sure it's safe before it goes out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Abbott. I know that Congresswoman Lawrence has a question.
Republicans want to win, and that's it. What we want will be worked out later, as long as we win. So if you want to do something, just get all your groups together at one time. Just say, we're not going to do anything else. We're going to make the vote system, and we're going to fix it. If you don't fix that problem, nothing else you want to do will matter. Winning, the goal has to be to win. And once you get it fixed, then you can go back and focus on what you really wanted to do, but you can do it better because now you won. And that's what you got to do. But that's, Republican.
I grew up thinking you're supposed to do the right thing. And that's what I do. I'll do it until someone makes it so I can.
Good shooting, lad. Keep it up. Get this. Immobilized targets. The best kind.
All right. So that's a pretty powerful video, and that was put out today by Sydney Powell. She sent it to me. She'll be joining me around 8:20 Central Time. Around 8:20 Central Time tonight. So I hope again you'll alert all your family and friends. She's got some very big news tonight among that story we'll discuss quickly, but also some other really big news. All right, Ash is with us now, right, Logan? All right. Hey, Ash, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we had some technical issues because I guess you have more than one account, so we're going to just go with you by phone. We got a graphic of you. Let's talk about what you've got going on. Tell me what's happening in your life tonight, will you?
Sure. Well, right now I'm sitting outside the hockey rink because I'm a mom first, and as a hockey mom, my life is generally sitting outside a hockey rink, which explains some of the technical difficulties I face. But I put out an article today. It is entitled, "It's an honor just to be nominated, my open letter to the so-called journalist Quentin Young." So this is a response to a hit piece that was done on conservatives that are involved in the fight for election integrity in Colorado. And we're at that point now where the leftists are making lists of us, and I'm number 5.
Wait a minute. What do you mean they're making a list?
Yes, they've made a list in Colorado of the most dangerous Colorado election deniers. And again, I'm number 5. I want to thank my parents, I want to thank God, and Jennifer.
Did you get an award with this?
Writing this response was reward enough.
Well, I know you just started to thank your family and friends. I thought maybe this was like an Academy Award or something. You know, we got the Raspberry Award over here for our Absolute Proof documentary, so it was thought this was like one of the worst movies ever. But we'll take it from there. Yeah, exactly. That's an honor. Exactly. But are you worried about your safety at all?
I'm not, and a lot of people have asked me that question. I'm not, because the only reason that I'm in this fight is because God has told me to be. God told me not to be silent, and He told me that we are in a season of exposure, and He said very clearly to me, I am allowing people to expose themselves on November 4th. And He told me not to be silent. Now God also tells me when to shut up, right? And
well, let me ask you this.
Why
did you respond? Did you respond to this guy?
I did. So the reason that I responded, so we say we are the news now, right? And on the right, we have a lot of people who are jumping in and becoming citizen journalists, and it's great, right? We are the news now. But so are they. And so there's the similar, we have a lot of bloggers and podcasters and a lot of great content coming out on the right. They have a lot of content coming out on the left. It's fictional and terribly uninspired. But they're doing similar things. The difference is that on the left, they have ActBlue money pouring in. So people like Quentin Young, who is the journalist that wrote this piece on the Colorado Top 10 list, this is his job. He's getting paid to do it, right? And for the citizen journalists on the right, people like me who are doing this nights and weekends outside of the hockey rink, right? We're not being paid a dime. But our content's better because it's the truth. This piece itself was a little bit satirical.
And tell our listeners again where this list was published.
So there is a rag called Colorado Newsline. We have several of these that are, they look like real news. I think Colorado Newsline even has that it's unbiased, objective reporting in it. And this is the piece that they put up. But there's a lot of these rags that are popping up. And what they do is one of them will post an article, and then they all circle around it, kind of like the mainstream media multiverse, right? They all circle around it and they repeat it. And so then it becomes, instead of one, Joe Oltmann colloquially calls them Antifa journalists. I don't know that they're actually members of Antifa, but they're definitely sympathetic to Antifa. But these Antifa journalists, they become more credible because they're all thumping each other. And so I wanted to expose that, and I also wanted to have a little fun with Quentin because his piece on the top 10 was, I found it incredibly humorous.
Okay, so Quentin Young is the name of the guy that wrote the piece there in Colorado. There's a list of the top 10 election deniers, and you're number 5 in the state of Colorado.
I am. I named top 5.
Mom should be proud, I'm sure. Now, for those who don't know, you work with Tina Peters and a lot of the citizens in Colorado related to Mesa County. Is that correct? Because I interviewed you before. That was the context of our interview, wasn't it?
Sure. So I have met Tina Peters once. I met her at the Mike Lindell Cyber Symposium.
Okay, so that means that you and I probably didn't meet, but were within feet of each other because I was there.
Yes, I saw you. We did not.
Okay.
You probably saw me too, but you didn't know me then.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw all of you. I saw all of you walk in. You had this entourage. And so I saw all of you, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know Tina Peters well. I've written about her story because I think it's egregious what they're doing to her. But I'm not a part of her team. And like I said, I've met her once and I've spoken to her once, but I think it's a very important story that she has. I know a lot. We in Colorado, our grassroots network is getting pretty tight. So we all kind of know each other at this point, especially around the topic of election integrity. So I know a lot of the people in Mesa County, just call a lot of them friends. Sharona Bishop is a good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. She works in Mesa County. She lives in a different county, but she works in Mesa County. So we're all, one of the things that we did after the election was make sure that we were locally organized and that we were able to talk to each other across counties. So at this point, almost a year later, we all know each other pretty well.
That's excellent. Well, I'm glad you are finding support, a group of people that of like mind that can support one another. It's very important. Now, you responded to him. Did you send him a note? Did you send him a note?
I wrote the open letter that I published today on my website, actionamerica.com, and then I forwarded him the link. And I said, hey, Quentin, I posted this as an open letter because I wasn't sure you were going to be able to correct the record, but, here it is. Please feel free to reach out at any time. And he actually did write me back. And
he did. Do you want to, can I read what he wrote back?
Absolutely.
He says, by the way, let's put her name up under her website, up under her name. It's Ash, A-S-H, ashinamerica.com, and throw that up there, Logan, if you want, please. Okay, so Quentin Young writes back and sent me the screenshot. Hi, Ash. Thanks for your message. It's a worthy rebuttal, I guess referring to yours. It's enlightening to hear how you view the people on the list. My piece, of course, was a highly subjective exercise, and I take your feedback to heart. I get why you don't think some of the people deserve to be mentioned, but who did I miss? Question mark. Anyway, thanks for reaching out. So, at least he's being nice, apparently.
He's lovely, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I feel like I was very polite in my open letter to him as well. So a couple of things. In there, he says, my piece is a subjective exercise, not labeled as an opinionated editorial. It's put up on a site that calls themselves Objective Unbiased News. So that's, something interesting about the exchange. Second, he asked me, who did I leave out? And I'm like, come on, guy. I've already done most of your job for you. I'm not going to do all of it. You're going to have to start paying me.
So, the reality, though, is the left has been running around talking, they talk about Nixon having an enemies list. I'm not even sure that that's an accurate portrayal that Nixon had that. But they talk about, those kind of things. But the left, they've been all over social media, TV, talking about making lists of conservatives from the people that supported Donald Trump. I have them in one of my documentaries talking about how we need a list. We need to win the election and line them up against the wall and shoot them, talking about conservatives. We got to burn down all these people, otherwise they'll come back. This is a lot of these comments are in my documentary, Brainwashed America, at brainwashedthemovie.com. But reality is, they're the ones going around bragging that they're making lists. What do you think that making such a list is meant in order to have consequences somehow for you guys, with employers, employment, just your family, your friends? Do you think this was done in order to try to make life rough for you?
Of course it is. Yeah, they've been. So this is not the first hit piece article that's been done on us in Colorado. Like I said, there's a group of these so-called journalists who just, they do it every few days and they just thump each other to make it seem like a bigger story than it is. They, it's a playbook, right? So while their content is shallow and poorly researched, we know that most people don't read beyond a headline, right? And so that's kind of the game that we're playing. The premise that people asking questions about the election, just as the left did for 4 years to the tune of millions of dollars in investigations,
including in a documentary called Kill Chain.
Kill Chain, correct? Yep, to the tune of millions of dollars. The premise that that's dangerous is dangerous in and of itself. So one thing that they consistently do in these pieces that they write about us is they tie us to QAnon. They keep calling us QAnon. Now, the people that I'm associated with, we're a diverse crowd, and there's all levels of people down conspiracy holes and people who don't believe any of it. But our association has nothing to do with QAnon. The things we say have nothing to do with QAnon. We're speaking out because we've done a ton of analysis. We've done our research and our homework, hundreds of hours put into this issue, and we know it's been stolen, we know it's wrong, right? So we're speaking out about that. They paint us as QAnon. Why do they paint us as QAnon? Well, QAnon has been labeled as a domestic terrorist organization, and they just passed red flag laws, right? Out of the House with 135 Republican support. So this is a playbook, and it's a long game that they're setting up. So that's a big part of why I called him out, and it's a big part of why I will not let these people intimidate or silence me, because what they're doing is destroying our country, and the reason we got to this place is because nobody was willing to speak out.
You said so much there that's so vital. You're very articulate, by the way. Red flag laws. I know most of our audience knows, but we're always adding new people, and we never want to leave anyone behind. What are red flag laws?
So red flag laws are laws that prohibit your ability to legally own a firearm if the state determines that you cannot legally own a firearm for some reason. So they'll pitch it in terms of school shootings, they'll pitch it in terms of mental health, they'll make all the excuses that they can, right? But really, it's a ploy to take guns out of the hands of Americans.
But it's also a ploy to take guns out of the hands of leaders. And if you could be castigated, set up in your community as a nut, a crazy person, mentally unstable, unreasonable, unbalanced, believing lies and conspiracy theories, that can then be used to have a neighbor or political opponent, because you never get to confront your accuser. They can just call up authorities and say, Ash is mentally unbalanced, she has guns, and she's threatening me, or I think she's mentally unstable, but I think, and she's got guns, I hear, and next thing you know, you've got a raid at your house taking your guns. Correct?
Correct. And so you said, if they determine that I'm a nut, they're radically and very rapidly changing the definition of a nut.
Yeah.
Right? And why? Well, the only thing keeping America from becoming Australia is, on paper, the Bill of Rights, and then setting that paper on fire. But in reality, the only thing that's keeping America from becoming Australia is people who exercise their Second Amendment rights to own and train with firearms. And the American people are the largest informal military on the face of the earth because of our armament. And so the reason that they're doing this, we saw the CDC came out today and said that gun violence is a public health crisis. We see these red flag laws happening. We see these people in camps in Australia, and we know that disarmament happened not too long ago for Australia. It's the writing is on the wall. If you zoom out and look at the big picture, it's so incredibly obvious what they are doing.
Yes, it is. It is. And yes, a bunch of Republicans passed this amendment that was on this red flag law that was on there out of this, I don't know if it's a committee or what they did, but a bunch of Republicans passed on this amendment. They got it on. They did put it on there. They don't like it, but they agreed to it, thinking it would come out in conference or whatever. And some of them even said if it becomes law, they'll give up their seat, which there are one or two of them. I hate to see them do that, but they should have never agreed to this, thinking that it would come off, because if it doesn't, this is very, very dangerous, and these red flag laws become national, where we already have red flag laws. One in Maryland. I think Maryland has these. We had a talk with Mike Hammond of Gun Owners of America the other night. Maryland has this, and one guy, police came into his house and scared the daylights out of him with red flag laws, and they ended up shooting him. So this comes at, the middle of the night, 3 in the morning, and the cops come busting in, and next thing you know, someone gets shot and killed.
Oh, absolutely. So it's a transfer of our natural rights to the government. And we're not consenting to it, right? It wasn't a handful of Republicans that voted for this. It was 135. 135 Republicans voted for these red flag laws. That shows you what the government believes about your Second Amendment rights.
Yep, absolutely. Dangerous. And I like what you said. Being defined as a nut is being completely redefined. I don't know how many of you watched that deep intellectual show, Andy Griffin. But Eddie Griffin, his deputy sheriff, 25, used to say about some of these people there in town who were doing something he thought was kind of odd or strange or saying or doing something. And what was Barney Fife's favorite phrase about those people? He's a nut, right? And what he was simply doing was expressing his disdain for whatever it is they were up to, like they said or done or whatever. Or maybe they were little interesting characters coming down out of the hills, the mountains, to play on their banjo with their, blow into their whiskey. What was the Darlings? The Darlings are coming to the jail and play. Some of you are laughing your heads off right now because you can't believe I even know all this. I love Andy Griffin. So the Darlings, by the way, I heard the Darlings play live in person at Branson during the year. But the Darlings would come down out of the hills and play their banjos and blow into the whiskey bottle, and they were actually very good banjo and guitar players and fiddlers and everything, the Darlings, and they're a real group. But they were on Mayberry, and they come to town and they create trouble. Or Ernest T would come to town with his bag of rocks, and of course, he was a little off, that's for sure. But Barney Fife used to have that phrase, he's a nut. But today we are classifying people as nuts, as mentally unstable, and i.e. domestic terrorists. So you're right. This is words are being completely redefined to the point now that a domestic terrorist means conservative, constitutionalist, Christian, for borders, for the Second Amendment, for the First Amendment. I mean, that now makes you a domestic terrorist, i.e. red flag,
correct. That's correct. And, you know, they call this list, this top 10 list that they put out, they said that Colorado's most dangerous election deniers. What they mean by dangerous is people who are asking questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're redefining it and making us all dangerous. There was a piece that Brian Stelter put out. I saw this on Telegram yesterday or the day before, that he did a whole segment on the 4 dangerous words that are creating all of this chaos in our society. And those words were do your own research. They're terrified of free-thinking people. Terrified.
This is why YouTube today would ban anybody that is putting out truth. Anybody from Dr. Mercola all the way over to the left with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. all banned today.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you know, there's an old change management book called Radical Culture Change by Pritchett and Pound, business book, been around for decades. And the premise of the book is that when you really want to change the culture, you got to do it fast. You gotta be willing to lose some people. You gotta rip the Band-Aid off, and you gotta ram it through. And that is what we are seeing.
Are we ever? All right, Ash, A-S-H, ASHInAmerica.com. Thank you for what you're doing.
ASHE.
Hey, by the way.
ASHE in America.
Say it again, sorry.
ASHEinAmerica.com.
Oh, you know what? We have your name spelled in the graphic. Right. It's A-S-H-E. We'll fix that for future shows. So go to our website, ASHE in America. ASHEinAmerica.com. Hey, by the way, did you hear we added a Roku channel tonight?
I did. So I cut the cord with cable years ago, and my entire television life is set up on Roku. So when I heard, I was listening to your show earlier, and when I heard that, I'm so excited. If anybody's still on cable and thinking about cutting the cord, if people are using, you know, other devices, Chromecast or Apple TV, and you're unhappy with them, Roku is inexpensive. You can turn any TV into a Roku TV with a $25 device, and you can get any content that you want in there, including now Frank's speech, which I find amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Ash. We really appreciate all you're doing and your kind words.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. All right, joining me now as we move closer to that 8:20 Central Time mark, where we'll have Sydney Powell on 8:20. Alert the family and friends. I know she's just here to listen and watch. Alert your family and friends and get the kids around the television. And by television, I now mean TV, thanks to Frank's speech being on Roku. Get the kids around the TV. Sydney Powell coming up, 8:20 Central Time. David LaRock is going to join us first. Is David, David's not in? He says he is. All right, let's do that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get David here because then I want to spend time with Sydney without breaking all this out. And David will join us. He's a state representative out of Virginia. He just texted me and said that he's in, but we'll find out what's going on during the break. So we'll take a quick break, come back, get David here, a state representative out of Loudoun County. There's a lot of junk going on in Virginia, folks. This is a perfect example, like Ash was saying, where they move and they move fast. And they have really turned Virginia into something that most people don't recognize. I lived in that state for 8 years and used to go back a lot and travel there. But I'm telling you what, they have moved and moved very fast. He's a state representative. He's very up on what's happening. I want you to hear from him before we go to Sydney Powell. We'll take a quick break, get him on the horn, and be right back. Don't go away.
towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work.
The new My Pillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled My Pillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings for Brett on you. Go to mypillow.com to get 8 discounts on all My Pillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99. Or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel set. Regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code. Hello, I'm Mike Liddell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from My Pillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out for. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. But here, towels that actually work.
The new My Pillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled My Pillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on you. Go to mypillow.com to get 8 discounts on all My Pillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99. Or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel set. Regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code.
I'm glad you're with us. David LaRock is going to join us by phone. He's having some issues as well tonight. Sydney's already in, ready to go, so we're thankful for that. So she's waiting. We'll want to talk to David a little bit here, but we'll jump that phone. We got a graphic that we'll throw up. David, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us here on Lindell TV.
Glad to be with you.
David, I introduced that you're a state representative in Virginia. In fact, you are the last Republican in Loudoun County, correct?
Last Republican member of the state legislature. That's right.
Wow. So many people remember Loudoun County because you guys made national news because you guys were going to let guys use the girls' bathroom and vice versa and sleep in the same rooms and all kinds of stuff with the whole LGBTQ thing. And the parents showed up and made a big, big stink about that. And thankfully they backed down on that one, correct?
Nobody's backed down at all. Actually, the school board has made every attempt to block any involvement by the parents. And when they do that, it just stirs up the parents even more. They're realizing that it's obvious is that schools want to have control of the children and want to keep parents out of the mix altogether. I think it kind of started when kids were doing a lot of their work at home and parents were overhearing conversations and so on. But no, they're doubling down. They passed this transgender policy, 80-40, and then they've also tried to dismiss a teacher who is very kind and gentle Christian man who came to a public hearing and just exercised his First Amendment opportunity to provide input to the board and say he just couldn't teach or he couldn't cooperate with all this their gender-related policies, that they would treat the students in a very loving and kind and appropriate way, so they tried to fire him, and that hasn't gone well for them. So all these things have kind of amped it up even further.
We covered all that last summer and had on someone from one of the family organizations there in Virginia, and I thought when we had her back on, there had been enough outcry that the school board backed down. But you're telling me that they did not. Did they go ahead and pass? I guess what it was they were trying to do is they were trying to put in those standards created by the state legislature related to this issue. Are you telling me they went ahead and implemented those standards in that whole program anyway?
Absolutely, they did, yeah. The parents are also really fired up about this critical race theory. The school board and the superintendent deny that it's even being taught, but many of the teachers are being forced to expose the kids to that. For a long time now, Loudon has been putting pornographic books in their library. That also kind of put us on some people's radar.
Are you talking about like the book It's Perfectly Normal?
That's probably one of the titles, yeah. And then this actually dates back to when Terry McAuliffe was our governor. There was an incident in Fairfax County where a child came home all upset, described to their parent what they'd been exposed to. I think it was Toni Morrison's beloved graphic depictions of rape and child abuse and so on. And this is representative of some of the books that are being put into libraries.
There's one book
vetoed the bill that would have prevented that. Terry McAuliffe, who wants to be our new governor.
There's one book called It's Perfectly Normal. I cover it in my documentary Brainwashed America. You can watch it, folks, again at brainwashedthemovie.com. Brainwashedthemovie.com. You watch all 2 hours of part 1 for free. But we show you a book called It's Perfectly Normal that promotes all kinds of sexual stuff and LGBT stuff to the kids in drawings and cartoons.
Yeah.
But if you were to show this on television, and major TV outlets in different cities or towns have showed it, but they have to scramble, as we do in our documentary, they have to scramble the pages, because if they don't, they can be charged with promoting lewd and lascivious material. And even, I think, one prison rejected it, calling it, child porn. So what he's talking about, I know to be true because we covered it in one of our documentaries, brainwashedthemovie.com, and news stations won't even show it.
Yeah, these are how-to manuals that are basically grooming kids to become, who knows what, pedophiles, into grooming them to move toward homosexuality and gender confusion. It's not what parents want for their kids for the most part. Terry McAuliffe was in a debate with Glenn Youngkin, and he really summed up his alliance with the schools who are trying to pull this over on parents. He said something very close to, it's not the parents' business what kids are taught in schools. Now, that's not an exact quote, but it really captures the essence of what he said. That's what some people think, and parents are finally waking up and realizing this isn't what's good for their kids. It is not age appropriate. It's not appropriate at any age, to be honest with you.
Terry McAuliffe has come out in the last few days and said that parents don't have a right to tell the teachers what it is they want their kids to learn.
That's right. Exactly.
I mean, it's on news sites. I've seen it. I think we may have put it on our website, worldviewreport.com, that he's tired of the parents trying to tell teachers what to teach. In other words, the teachers are the experts. The parents need to just sit down and shut up.
And not to go off the subject, but if the theme here is Terry McAuliffe says government knows best. Government should make the most important decisions in your life. That explains why he thinks that everybody should be vaccinated, even against their will. He wants government to be the ultimate decision maker in some really important matters. And if people in Virginia are ready for that, to have a governor that thinks that way, well, we're in trouble. We're already kind of on a slippery slope with top-down Democrats in the legislature and in the executive. If we don't turn it around in this election, then it's not going to be pretty here in Virginia.
Well, I lived in Virginia, as a kid for 8 years. And I would go back there. I held many of my conferences, many of my worldview weekends I held in the, Annandale area, corner of Backlick and Braddock Road. There's a big church there I would hold them at. I had a Christian school that I attended as a kid. And I'd hold my big conferences there as an adult. We would hold them many, many times in Richmond, Virginia, in Hampton Roads, Virginia. That state was never a leftist state. The state has turned, and it's turned fast, hasn't it?
Well, it appears, and I think it was kind of accelerated with a lot of people voting against Donald Trump. This will be a really interesting election. I'm sorry to say Donald Trump is not in the White House, but with Democrats not so motivated to go out and vote against him, I think we're going to revert to something more like a normal situation here in Virginia, and hopefully it's nowhere near as blue as some people think it is. Perhaps it would turn a light shade of red in this next governor's election.
Now, of course, you know here at Lindell TV and Frank's Speech, we're quite concerned about the voter fraud issue. What makes you think that your guys' vote will be fair and free to do that?
Well, that's a complicated question, and we've all learned a lot about the types of fraud that can occur in an election. There were some very significant irregularities here in Virginia, but none of that proves there was fraud. I think that, but one of the things we have learned is that we need to very closely watch these elections. And I know there's a lot of good volunteers in Loudoun County that are doing just that. And so learning what we learned and are continuing to learn from the 2020 election, we're going to be watching things very close. So that's not a guarantee, but that's the closest I can come. And I think the best way to assure that elections are transparent, conducted properly going forward, is to get some of the laws off the books that were passed in the legislature under the control of the Democrats, like saying you don't need a picture ID to vote. We need to get laws like that off the books and throttle back these absentee voting procedures that are they invite fraud. Now, again, I don't want to make it sound like people can't vote with some security, but if they go in an early vote, like they can now since September 17th, you can get your vote in before somebody else may sneak in an absentee vote and try to vote for you before you do. So as you probably know, I'm sure you know, that we're not going to undo all of the things that have been taking place in the last couple of years in the way of bad election law. We're certainly want to get to work at that as soon as the House of Delegates returns to a Republican majority under a governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general that understand what the Constitution means and are going to work to uphold it and uphold the rule of law. I'm really looking forward to that.
Let's talk in the closing minutes here about the Second Amendment. Your current governor, well, he's really opposed to the people keeping and bearing their arms.
They really stirred things up a couple of years ago. I've never imagined I would see a flood of single-issue advocates. I say single-issue. They were there because McAuliffe had stated some agreement with a proposed law that would have had the government confiscating what they call assault weapons and outlawing high-capacity magazines, many of which are even the same handguns that off-duty police officers own, and they're very, very common. Well, that put in motion a level of protest that was on Martin Luther King Day that, again, they just flooded the Capitol area. I would probably north of 50,000 people behaved perfectly calmly and appropriately, but letting the government know that they had no intentions of cooperating with that. That was preceded by the sanctuary city movement, or sanctuary county movement, which turned, I have a map right beside my desk here, and almost every law enforcement, local government and county government basically said they were not going to abide by such brazenly unconstitutional laws as the ones that were being proposed in the legislature. So, yeah, Northam, he kind of does what he's told. I think he's still trying to rebuild his brand after being caught wearing the KKK hood. But Terry McAuliffe is just as compliant with the extreme leftists, and he's made it perfectly clear. He'll pick up with that same initiative, which is to confiscate certain guns and outlaw high-capacity magazines, which are most of the modern semi-automatic handguns. And again, that's just not going to go well. There's one advocacy group that has total, complete resolve that they have drawn the line in the sand and won't accept that kind of legislation. It is the Second Amendment people, and many of them are law enforcement people themselves. So another reason we hope that we never have to see the lights turn the call for Richmond again.
Let me ask you: Are you up for re-election in the House?
I am. Yeah, the entire body of House body of 100 seats are up every 2 years. So I'm in a seat that, as you mentioned, is the last Republican seat in Loudoun County. We used to have several good legislators, but many of them were swept out with that blue wave. So I have a lefty that wants to take my place and start voting with the Democrats.
Well, it ought to be pretty clear what it is their agenda is. I mean, with what's going on in Loudoun County, the whole nation's been watching Loudoun County and what your governor has been doing there with the Second Amendment. So again, it ought to be pretty clear where this is going, and it ought to be easy for people to choose either freedom or tyranny. That's your choice, right?
Yeah, but the left is very good at masquerading, truth for lies is truth, and compassion, what they call compassion, is very often just the opposite of that. Hurts the people they claim to be helping. So we got to unpack those lies, and again, I'm very encouraged by the outrage that parents are showing here as it relates to education. They love their children, they want the best for them, and I like to say, we love the children who think differently, perhaps need to be counseled on certain things. We care about those children. There's not anybody that I know that dislikes a transgender person, but it's when the government says we're going to teach every child to completely embrace this ideology, that's when they've really crossed the line.
Yeah, this is not about hating any person or group. It's about protecting the innocence of kids, and yeah, you said it well. Do you have a website?
I do. It's voteLarock.us. Vote LaRock is VOTELAROCK.us.
David, thanks for being with us. Let me know what else goes on there in Loudoun County area, will you?
Always a pleasure. Look forward to that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, David. All right, we're going to be joined now by Sidney Powell. I think I'm losing my earpiece here. All right, so we'll be joined by Sidney Powell. Sidney, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Braylon.
Hey, did you hear the big news tonight? We launched a Roku channel.
That sounds great.
You know what Roku is, right?
I do. I actually have one.
Awesome. Well, you can now go to Roku, go to the little search box, type in Frank's Speech, it'll pop up, add it to your home screen, and you can now live stream Frank's Speech, Lindell TV, right on your flat screen TV. Isn't that crazy?
That's terrific. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. All right, well, we had you on the other night. We don't normally get you back quite as quick, not because we wouldn't have you on quite as quick all the time, but you're so busy and on so many shows, we try not to clog up your schedule too much. But I reached out to you and said, oh my, there's so much going on, particularly because last night we had Seth Ketchel on, and Seth said, I think you need to get Sydney back on. I think she's got some breaking news. And you also sent out an email alert today. You do have some breaking news tonight, right, Sydney?
Yes, we sent out 2 email alerts. One has the contents, or some of the contents of the government patents that I believe we discussed briefly last week, that show that starting in at least 2003, the government itself developed an interest in and funded patents that will both real-time audit an election, allow them to manipulate the votes in an election, and inject false voters and false identifications for voters, as well as generate an algorithm that can predetermine the results of an election depending on the way they want it to come out. And those are at defendingtherepublic.org. You can go there to sign up for our newsletters, and the full patents are posted on the website now.
So that was a 2006 DOD patent, correct?
Yes, the patents were actually issued, I think, in 2006 and maybe one in 2009, but they were applied for, and provisional patents were granted much earlier than that, and the research probably began much earlier than that, too. And then we've also identified, thanks to some patriots who brought it to our attention, video that was done back in 2004 of a man who actually testified in front of a House Judiciary Committee field meeting in Ohio about having written an algorithm himself in the year 2000 at the request of a person in Congress who wanted an election rigged. So this has been going on a long time. What I find especially troubling is that it's been brought to the attention of officials. I'm documenting now a number of times that people in positions of authority have been notified of this and done nothing about it, turned a blind eye to it. The only conclusion we can draw from that is that politicians, business leaders, global titans, corrupt government officials, whoever you want to call it, whatever it is, a large group of they out there have known this for a long time and have been using it to manipulate our elections as far back as the year 2000.
So this has been going on for 21 years.
Exactly. And it's, undermining and completely destroying the will of the people. It's rendered our entire election system a farce, and I have to disagree with Mr. LaRock if he thinks he's going to get any kind of fair election here, because both the man who wrote the algorithm and others have told us it's next to impossible to find the code. You would have to get in there very quickly after the election before anything could be wiped, rearranged, and the man who testified in 2000 said it was even possible to build a code so that it ate itself and disappeared.
Oh, wow. Now, we played that 8-minute clip, but that's really just a trailer for a longer documentary, right?
Yes, the documentary, I think, was produced back in 2006 or 2008. And we've got the whole thing loaded up to our Rumble channel and our website also. And the full name of it escapes me, but there's a website that we link to that has the name of the actual documentary and the people who made it a long time ago. And it simply hasn't received any attention. In fact, we had to dig and dig to find all of it.
Is that linked on your website?
It is, defendingtherepublic.org.
defendingtherepublic.org. So, in the 8-minute piece that we played tonight, someone came out and announced in that 8 minutes after we heard him speaking that they had put that guy under a polygraph and he passed it, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
What is that gentleman doing today?
We have not located him yet. I believe he's retired. He might have actually run for Congress in the year 2000 on the blue ticket.
Just kicking back, playing the game, watching some TV, and just chilling. It's just me right now. Why, are you in town? Yeah, going good. Got the plumber coming out tomorrow. So hopefully he'll finish. I can get that washer and dryer. My daughter's got the washer. You still have your dryer? Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been working. They got all kinds of stuff going on here. I just burned up that wood that is in the bed. I was trying to get that one off of Menards. Then I got an email yesterday saying that it was going to be delayed until November, and I said, I want my money back, so I went and got my money back today, and then I just looked on Marketplace and grabbed one for $60. I'm like, I don't even care. I just want to see. So I saved a little bit of money, and then I bought a couple other tools and things that I needed. I've been doing a lot of work around here. It'll probably, next time you see it, if you end up, I don't know. Last I heard, you was going to try to get a ride. Yeah, I probably did. I do a lot of those. Yeah, that's fine. I understand. Right. Yeah, last person I talked to beside you was Yaswell Soaring Luther. Just texting him. I saw Joe in a stream, but I don't talk to him every day. Oh yeah, right on. Yeah, let me know. I'm just tied up, doing stuff every day, and I still need to get tires, and I'm low on money, and so, I got money set aside for the washer and dryer, but once I pay this plumber. Okay. Ah. Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, I'm a grand in the hole waiting on, it says payment pending, and I'm like, oh man, I was counting on that, that last little bit, to get my tires, and, that last payment was when I was going to get my set of tires on the van. I shouldn't have waited so long. But I figured that'll eventually come in. I, yeah, I've been waiting for over a month. Well, there's a lot of people that might be losing their jobs. Uh, every 2 years they have these elections, so people lose their jobs, and there's always hiccups. And the bureaucracy of the way the government works, they just drag their feet. It's like, oh, this person's getting promoted. It's just a big headache. So it's red tape. You just wait. They're trying to, I don't even know with the unemployment, moratoriums and all this economy stuff that's going on. Election, the Arizona election results came in that they're trying to decertify. It's just crazy. I got a wedding to go to this weekend, Yeah, at the Masonic Hall. I opened up the invitation. I'm like, oh, yep, Masonic Hall, there we go. Because people will rent those halls, to do their parties, and it's so easy for them, just to have a whole building. They'll let them go ahead and use the building. I'm sure there is. Underneath, and yeah, with cameras and crazy. Yeah, worshiping the sun, the moon, and yeah, I remember that. I know. Yeah, I'll go. I'm not gonna raise a ruckus. This is a big family. They've kind of, it's an opportunity to witness. They know my stance on the Bible and, my conspiracy views, at least their opinion of what they think I believe. They may think that I'm crazy, but no, I'm pretty sane. I think that I'm pretty sane. I may be a little unhinged sometimes, but I'm alright. It seems wild. It's like, but I believe in the Bible, man. Believe in God's creation, firmament. I don't believe in all that. But yeah, just kicking back. I get Eric Friday, so I'll have him for the weekend. I had him Tuesday. My next court date's on the 14th, so I think I can get this house complete by then. So if I can get... I'll have Eric until like Sunday morning. He'll go to church on Sunday. I think I get him all until like the end of Sunday, but then I won't get him again until Tuesday. So maybe we'll do that one time. I may have enough film for Sunday. I just have Right. Yeah, I've been painting. I got the outside painting, both sides. It was white, red, gray. Yeah, I got the tent in the front yard now. Yeah, it's like my front porch. Yeah, the tent, when the wind blew it, like there was a really strong wind the other day. I didn't know. My tent was right between the house and a tree in my van. covered, and I'm like, I still have to deal with all that. Yeah, it was crazy. So I re-staked that down today. Yeah, I've been working on it every day. I got gravel out here and everything. Doing that French drain along the side. Yeah, because I mean, I'm going to have to hook up that tomorrow. I don't know. Big washer for my cars, and then dryer for you, I'd like to have that reset. After tomorrow, if I could, that'd be great. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I got so much going on, you know. So that's why I was thinking Monday would be like okay. You know what I mean? Because I don't think I'm gonna have much left after this plumber's done, and then I get the chimney done. I'll probably go and get the drywall. Like, oh my God! I'll go get the drywall for those back rooms. All I have is the hallway, bathroom, and the back room ceiling. And two small walls. And this is all done. It's not finished. 20 minutes of sheeting. That's like 3 hours. That's if I don't slow. And if I do it myself, I'll be hanging it. I can hang that stuff myself. So. Yeah, even just having the inspections complete and some pictures. I know it's been a long, you'd be surprised. As you've seen it before, I've been working on it every day, so it's made some leaps and bounds. So the only thing that I have to do to get my inspection done and everything is after tomorrow, I have to do like 2, I barely have anything. I mean, like 2 cover plates for the electric boxes. I've already switched all the wires. So I have to hang that little bit of drywall in the back so that I can put my switch plates up. Everything's finished. I'm not doing the full, final coat. I'll still finish more once I get that inspection done on it. Right now, I'm just doing a tape coat. Pretty much I'm taping and painting, except for the ceilings. I'm going to finish them out and smooth them and do them white. So I might use the ceilings. I like them all white. I like white cement. Flat white. So I'll probably spend some time once I hang them and finish all those a couple days and then just paint them all white. Then I can work on the walls, put some borders up, trim work, and that's stuff. Yeah, well, the inspections, once I get past that, all this other stuff is minor, just detail. But I'm like 99% done. I'm so close, especially after tomorrow's going to be a big day. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to give it a day or two. I was hitting it hard for a minute. But I don't want to get any strikes, so I'm just going to let it calm down for a couple days. Well, I still have a strike. I'm waiting for it to wear off. And I just had one wear off, so yeah, I've been on the brink with the YouTube. I'm operating under a strike right now. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is the end. Right, you're done. Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks for calling. Later. Oh, sorry.